Welcome to the Wizards of Ecom, your no-fluff playbook for online success. Each episode is fully packed with actionable tactics you can implement in your business right now. Take your life to a higher level and excel in your online success. It's time to work on you and your business. Let's do this.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Wizards of Ecom. My name is Noemi, and I'm going to be your host. Today I'm with my co-host, my amazing co-host, the awesomest and humblest human being, and nine-figure seller. I must say it's nine-figure seller. So you're legit. I'm with Carlos Alvarez, my awesome, amazing co-host. Carlos, what's up?
Thank you so much. I guess I can't say I'm super humbled to be on the show, but I am super humbled to be on the show, and I'm excited for today's topic.
I'm super excited as well, and especially because you have a lot of skills and you're mastering lots of areas. Today, specific area I would like to talk about is list building. Sipping some time, just a sec.
I'm gonna sip too. If you're sipping, I'm sipping.
Thank you. It's like, oh, I cannot talk. So list building and the importance of list building. First off, why should you start and why should you start like yesterday with this topic? And also some of your most amazing ideas that you come through that was like super obvious that no one else would talk about, and it played out amazingly for you. So these two topics I would like to talk about. First off, where to start?
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Where to start? Where would you start when you start?
I think one of the, if you're an Amazon seller, I think it's important to say one of the hardest parts about list building is actually not ignoring, but not letting everyone around you in the Amazon space tell you how much of a waste of time it is. We're influenced by people around us, and Amazon, buy now, delivered in minutes. I think that's carried over to us being as sellers, which is, I'm launching a product. How am I profitable during a launch or on my second month type of thing? So it's very I want it now. And list building is not that. Mm-hmm. I do not know how to healthily build a list. Healthily, is that a word? Healthily build a list.
You just made it a word. It's fine.
It's a word now. It's a Wizards of Ecom word.
Healthily.
I don't know, healthily build a meaningful list that will allow you to launch a product on Amazon in a few weeks. So I think one of the important things is for people to know what you're getting into is it's a new skill. It's significantly easier than PPC. So if you're doing that already, feel comfortable knowing that this other one's pretty easy. But it is a new skill. It's a new skill set. There are some costs associated with it. I would begin with starting from scratch. This is the easiest one to do, and it's also the one that I still do to this day. I'm not trying to complicate things more than what they need to be. And it's trivia, quizzes, polls, and contests. You've probably heard me say it a bazillion times. You could just go to influencers, but I wouldn't. I think influencers sound easy, mm-hmm. but there's a learning curve on how to approach them, finding them, and it can be expensive. But I would start with trivia, quizzes, polls, and contests. I would use a tool like WooBox, Raffle Press, King Sumo. On AppSumo, they usually have King Sumo or Raffle Press available for a lifetime deal too. So they're very easy. And WooBox is only $40 a month. There's another one called Gleam. I'm just not as familiar with it, but Gleam actually has some contest modules that are specific to Amazon. They mention Amazon. So for some people, they just like that better. It doesn't matter. But what you're going to do is you're going to create a contest and give away a monthly thing that people in your space really like. So if you're launching a coffee spoon, don't run a contest for a spoon that no one's heard about before. You do a contest for a really nice monthly giveaway, maybe in the $50 to $150 range, and do a funniest caption wins. So people need to input their email address, and they feel that, they're doing that because obviously when they win, they need to be contacted for the details on how to get what they won. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the question that most people have is well, how do I get people on the list? That's one of the easiest ways.
Got it. And it's amazing that it's awesome that you already like touched on so many points that I had already like prepared these questions. Like, okay, you were mentioning a few tools. What would be your upfront budget? You were mentioning that it's budget time-wise, like it's investment that wise, and also like budget like money-wise. So what would be?
I think a good starting budget, if you want to get into list building to begin, the basic tools that you're going to want is, an email service provider. So I favor ActiveCampaign, but really popular in our space is Klaviyo. I think it's fantastic. ConvertKit, Nate McAllister, who I guess I'm going to reference a few times in the show. He just hosted the advanced event Wednesday. He's a huge fan of ConvertKit. I find ActiveCampaign to be more robust, but starting off, you're probably looking at like $30, 20 to $30. And then that cost is going to grow as you add people to your list. The other one you're looking at is the tool. So I'm going to put the more expensive numbers out there. Like you don't get a lifetime deal or anything. So you go for WooBox. So that's another $40, $45 a month. And that's really all you need is the basics. So what is that? Like $90, $80, $90 to start like that. That's what you need. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to get into all of the other things, kind of like if you have a contest tool and you have somewhere for these email people to go, you got to write the copy, right? Like when somebody wins, the follow-up emails, you got to write copy. And then you start, I feel like some people just get paralyzed there and they're like, but I don't know how to write copy. And you could easily find yourself spending a few $100s on copy that converts. Not to play down copy, but there's a lot of other like add-ons and bells and whistles that you could add. But basics, you're looking at under $100.
Got it. It's amazing. And also like when you're starting out, would you hire out tests or how does it look like? Do you already have a system built in and based on that you're hiring people and also tools, or how does it work usually?
Do you mean if I'm hiring people if I was like from scratch, hiring people for the email? No, you're probably going to put in about 6 to 8 hours of time in, going through the ActiveCampaign resource library, not to master it, but to learn how to set up an email automation, create a list for these people to go on. And if you've never done it before, you're probably going to watch some of these webinars a few times. And then on the WooBox side, same thing. They have a resource library, and they also have constantly, like depending on the thing you're going to do, whether it's a contest, trivia, poll, whatever, they'll have a series of active featured contest, trivia, or polls that are going on right now, so that you could click on them and engage with them and see how they function and get a feel for what works best for you. Going through just that learning, you're looking at like 6 to 8 hours. You don't need to hire anybody at that point. Like if you're already hiring people and you know that this is something you're going to be adding to your arsenal, like I'm taking a guess here, I don't know, but like you've become a successful seller. And I don't know if you've built an email list yet. Like you've done it, or I know you achieved success without the list. Am I correct? And maybe
Correct.
You're building one now. Okay.
Yes.
So like maybe you're in this position where you're a successful seller and you're like, now I'm going to build a list. Well, perhaps you're in a position that you could hire someone and it makes more sense because you've taken on PPC in your business and stuff like that. And that's a better use of your time maybe. So yeah, then it would make sense to hire, but you don't need to hire. It's not such a difficult skill set to master. Like you probably want to get your hands dirty a little bit. It's totally doable, and then create an SOP out of it.
Got it. So basically, just as I like to say all the time, just learn and understand how it works, and then if it's possible, then hire it out. Whatever would be a tool or a person, right? Do I see it like if this is what you meant, or?
Yeah, and what you create actually, it really could not be easier. Like you're going to create it once, and then every contest after that, if you like the results each month or each week or each day, whatever, like you're just going to swap out the giveaway or the dates of when the contest starts and ends, but there's no additional major work. And on the email side, likewise, you're swapping out, instead of thank you for joining, the contest today on mastering your kitty litter. I don't know. Like you could instead, maybe it's, you know, mastering cat obedience, if that exists, but like you're just swapping that out. There's no extra heavy work involved.
Got it. So just like a short insight before we move on. Before actually starting the podcast, it was like no cats. And Carlos talks about cats. Brilliant. I love it. Also, sorry, I'm not sure what's going on, but my voice is just going away. So apologies for that. All right. So we had the tools, we have the time investment. Now, what's next? You were talking about polls, trivias, and contests. How would you come up with those type of like
the ideas for it?
Ideas and also content for it. Yeah.
I think Amazon, here are the tools I'm going to use, and I'll try to put them together. So I use Answer the Public. I'm a huge fan of BuzzSumo. If you're going to use BuzzSumo, let me say this, you get like one free search a day. You're not really going to be able to use it the way I'm using it unless you get the paid versions, and it's not a cheap tool, I'm going to say. If you're thinking that way, like to get the version you're going to really want to use and you do some damage in your business, whether it's Amazon Live Video or an email list or a podcast, like we're, you know, looking at it as like you're looking at something in like the $100 to $200 a month range. So maybe you don't use that now, and instead you use Answer the Public, Google Alerts, YouTube, Amazon, and what you're going to do is, right, like initially you're looking for like #1 bestsellers on Amazon, because that's probably going to be a good giveaway in your niche. Now, if it's an identical competitor product of yours, you'd have to be a little more careful, but not so much that maybe you shouldn't, because like, let's say there's a dog grooming brush, and Furminators, I feel the Furminator brand, I feel is like the Lamborghini of like dog grooming, or even cat, maybe grooming brushes. Yeah. So, and it's like a $60 brush that costs $2 to make, but genius marketing. And you know that you're going to launch like this unique cat grooming brush. It may make sense to give away a cat Furminator grooming brush, because you know that every single person on there not only sees that they need this and they're excited enough to give their email address, but they're also willing to pay top dollar on it. So it's not necessarily bad. It's not like you're shooting yourself in the foot if you do it, but like, that's how I would go about picking what the giveaway is going to be. A side note, you've probably heard me say this before. I think this is important though. It's not always a high dollar amount. Like Furminator is like I think it's like the most expensive grooming brush known to man. But I had this instance where I was doing a giveaway for a coffee product, and it was going to be, I think it was like a kettle or something, I don't know, but we did the giveaway on this like $150 or $150 to like $300, you know, tabletop. I think it was the DeLonghi ceramic burr grinder, dripper, frother, built-in one. Like you could put this thing in Starbucks. We got no bites, and it's the most expensive, you know, residential grinder, you know, coffee maker you could get. So we were baffled. And what it was that just not knowing your list, most people on the list, they drank like instant coffee, and that's just like spoon hot water. They saw this thing more as a nuisance that was going to take up a bunch of space on their countertop. A $20 to $50 Starbucks gift card on the next contest went gangbusters. So it's it's the perceived value, not necessarily the dollar amount of the product you're giving away all the time. The other part of what your question was, if I understood, was like how to string it together, like the trivia, quizzes, and polls, and then contest.
Correct.
I think I was doing that in a very elementary level until I read 2 books. One of them is called Ask, and the other one's called Choose by Ryan Levesque. And in those books, he's talking about nothing about Amazon, actually, I think, but he's talking about this tool called Bucket.io. You don't need to get it. Any of the tools we mentioned before, I think, are actually better than Bucket.io. But he mentions how he uses trivia, quizzes, and polls to segment. And I think that's really important. So using the coffee example, when you're reaching out probably via a Facebook ad or a pop-up on your website, because these tools will let you embed on your website, or if it's, I would say a link in your email address, but we're assuming that nobody has an email address at this point.
Mm-hmm.
If you're having this pop-up go up or you're running this Facebook ad, it's a cold audience. It's somebody you've not dealt with before. So asking for an email and what they see as potentially an address to ship their product to, that might be too risky for them. Like there too many alarms might go off. But if that same ad or that same pop-up was instead asking a goal of a segmenting thing, like a quiz or a poll that is going to allow me to tell whether they're a French press drinker, a vac pot drinker, a pour over coffee drinker, instant coffee, like it's going to allow me to see what's what there.
Understood.
If I create something that's like what famous person drank the most coffee, then depending on how much of that quiz they took, it'll let me know this person's like really interested. And then I can send them the contest that asks for the email.
Understood. That's brilliant. And the way I understand so far, this is the process before like starting even thinking of a product. This is just like understanding the audience, understanding the potential, or at what stage is this? Because I'm assuming in case that you already sold on Amazon, you already know your clients, you already like have maybe emails or maybe addresses or something, you can already build up very specific list. What you are describing is the really early stage, beginning stage when you have nothing. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, I thought that's where we were going from. Like, how would somebody start? They have nothing. So I'm assuming, like what you said is true. Like, say I have a brand and I've already gone through this process and I already have my lists. I personally like to keep feeding my lists with people that I see as highly qualified for my product. But say you've already done that and you want to launch another product. The beauty of doing it this way is that you can just go straight to the list. So your time from, I like this product, I've gone through my process of vetting, because everyone's different. Like you go through your process of vetting that this is going to be a product that you add to your arsenal. It's quicker. You could just do it because you have your list, or you could test it out. You could put a poll out there and just ask people what they're interested in. And so, yeah, I'm assuming this is from, I don't have a brand already. I don't have any products. I'm thinking about doing this. And I like to do that. I like to do that months out. 3 to 6 months, which might be shocking for some people, but I attribute that specific thing to why I have never launched an unsuccessful private label product.
Yeah, I definitely agree. What I could add there also, because you were saying that, yeah, I didn't have an email list, for example, when I started, but I had a community, like an Instagram community. We built up a community there, and that was basically the same thing. It's just like I didn't necessarily have their emails, So I see it exactly the same way. It's like knowing exactly who are you going to talk to, and then afterwards, when you have them and you're bringing your second product, for example, third product, it's in the same line, you already have people there, right? So yeah, totally, I agree. I agree.
Absolutely. And I think Facebook, Instagram, and these communities are genius on Facebook, because Facebook and Instagram, same thing.
Yeah.
And I really don't know anywhere else on social media where you can build a community like you can on Instagram and Facebook. My concern with that is you don't own it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instagram or Facebook changes the rules, and depending on that rule change, depends on the severity of the impact it has on your business. And I don't know, that doesn't sit well with me. Facebook burned me on the Facebook page change a long time ago, but that's another topic. And I'm like, never again.
No, this is really good, because like as a reminder, you always think that you own it until you just like prove that, hey, you don't, this is not yours, and it's ours, and we can just take it away. All right. So we talked about like how much budget does it requires, how much time does it requires, how should we like start right away? I think how long does it take to see results would be the next question.
I think you need to be crystal clear on what your results are at different stages. So initial results are that very early results. Like I mentioned, running some, Facebook ads, and I mean spending very little on running some Facebook ads early stages. First results are you noticed I don't have my audience really dialed in. I'm not getting as many bites on what I know is a good contest, and you're tweaking your targeting. And now you have sweet targeting, like everybody's coming in and they're not just coming in for a freebie. So your first win is you've now dialed in your audience on how to target for anything you want to target regarding your product moving forward. So that's your first huge win. Your second one, there's a lot of like ROI that's not necessarily cash, I feel, that people don't think about. Your second major win is you have just established a channel to sell products and move up in your ranking that is not 100% reliant, does not make you a slave to Amazon PPC. And that is probably where your competitor is at. So you now have leverage over your competitor. That's your second win. Those are actually huge. Like that 2-punch combination there is probably going to knock out your competitor. And there's other things you can do, but those would be like other shows in the future. But that's your second. Your third one that I see is that, and we haven't really touched on this, is content creation. Mm-hmm. Once these people get on your list from your contest, like say I did this 6 months out, if that person just sits on my list for 6 months and then I email them 6 months later and be like, buy my product, it's like, who are you, right? Like 6 months is a lifetime now. So you want to have created content. Let me take that back. You need to have either created or be good at curating content, other people's content to put in front of them. Curation is powerful.
I'm doing curation, and this is how like I built up like empires of IG accounts. Because, and besides of that, as you were saying, you're also like giving credit to other people and they feel good as well, and they're going to promote you, and it's like so on and so on. So it's working brilliantly. Carlos, you were mentioning, did you finish your idea? Because just to make sure.
I think you're saying, so we're talking about wins, like, yes. So it shows results. So those would be the third one. And then yes, the fourth one is, I like to see that the people that are on my list want to buy my product. So there's at different stages, there's different answers to how quickly can you tell when it works.
Yeah, makes sense. Something that you were just talking about, like, and I think that we haven't actually touched about, it's like, first off, don't invest too much money into like until you find your audience, which is, I find interesting that you say that, because most people are like, throw money and see what works, you know? So how would you like strategize that in the most efficient way?
I don't understand the question there. I know we're talking about like how I go about building my audience and figuring out who they are and dialing it in before, bringing a product over from China, but I don't know what the question was there.
I love it. You're the only one who's like, speak clearly, woman.
No, you said that. I didn't.
No, I'm saying it in my own words, so I love it. No worries. No, what I meant to say, you were just mentioning with Facebook ads that you're not spending like a lot of money, like to not throw a lot of money at it. First, understand. And most people, what are they so much advocating? It's you have to spend a lot of money first upfront so you understand. So what's your take on it?
I don't disagree with that. So let me clarify. That's an excellent question. I do, at certain times when I'm approaching Facebook ads, I do believe, or Amazon ads for that matter, I would much rather, like, say somebody's like, oh, I want to spend $20 a day max on Amazon ads. Well, depending on the category, who knows? But I would much rather say, fine, you want to spend $20 a day on Amazon ads? Fine. But let's begin with like $100 to $200 a day for X amount of days, so I can figure out what I need to know. Otherwise, this lower amount forever is like death by 1,000 cuts. So I agree with that logic. What I mean is that one of the first ads that I'm running, and I feel like it's not talked about enough, and to be specific, we're talking about Facebook ads. So I have a Facebook page. I'm running my contest off my Facebook page. And yes, I'm trying to get people into Messenger and get them to my groups and all that. But for the purpose of this show, like for email list, is I'm getting them on my page. The first ad type I'm doing is likes to page. Simple. And it's to get people into my page and then retarget people that like my page already. And I find myself being able to spend, and what I'm calling a little bit is I'm spending $5 to $10 a day on my likes to page campaigns. And I'm maybe spending $10 to $25 a day on my my retargeting of my Facebook page ads. So that's what I mean by starting small. Also, I'm starting this maybe 6 months out. Like at this stage, I'm not crystal clear on my product. I have some ideas. I know I'm passionate about this. And I also know enough to know, like, just because I'm passionate about it doesn't mean it'll sell. And just because I went through all my tools and saw and validated, like, hey, this makes a ton of sense. I want to triple check it. Like, I don't want to say, I don't want someone listening to this show to say, I agree with you, Carlos. I think email marketing is important. And I think it's powerful. I want to add it to my arsenal. My next product launch, when the product gets to Amazon, I'm going to build my email list. Like that's what I want to avoid. Yeah. So I do that way in advance. And you know what? If I find out 3 months in that this is great, but it's not an Amazon play, and I'm looking for something as an Amazon play, then I don't do it. I just don't do it. And I'm out less than $1,000 versus a container.
Yeah. Obviously, that's brilliant. I love that you also like specified it, because most people want specifying it. They're just like, yes, of course, and they're preaching it as truth, and no one actually is asking like, hey, is that the right way to do it? So yeah, definitely. And also, as you were mentioning, starting bringing traffic to your Facebook page. So how does the process look like? You're just making up a Facebook page, you're posting 3-10 posts, and afterwards you're going to launch your ad, or how does usually the process look like?
Yeah, for the Facebook page, how I start that off is even before I start my contest, I use I can't take credit for this. I learned this from Ryan Dice in Digital Marketer years ago, and I do something called satellite topics. Mm-hmm. So it's like I like say 3 to 5 max. I don't know if there's like a rule there on that, but I say 3 to 5 max, and that is, here are specific topics that my page is going to be about. And then it allows me in a focused way to go out and find the content creators, the prolific content creators that are out there that support each of those satellite topics. And this allows me now to create a more focused SOP for my research VAs and everything, to say, look, these are the pool of people that we're going to be curating content from. And this is how we're going to distribute it on the page. It's going to, or on Twitter or wherever, it's going to simultaneously, because we're going to tag them. Like we're not like stealing this and adopting it as our own, but we're tagging them. And passively, these content creators, who the number one thing they want in their life is to have their content shared, are going to begin noticing us with their tools that these people share our stuff. So later on, when I want to approach them in more of like an influencer relationship or a favor or do business, I can actually get a reply, and I can show this history that I have of sharing their stuff. So I'll begin doing that and building that out in an SOP, because that is time consuming. Mm-hmm. And the way I go about picking my satellite topics, like since I'm an Amazon business, one of the satellite topics I picked is deals. So like I want people on my page to not be shocked a year later that I'm selling something. That, I don't want them to feel like there's a betrayal of trust. So one of the easy ways to do that is get my category and create alerts for the lightning deals in that category. So Amazon builds in that sense of urgency with the timer. It's a legit deal. We all know how Amazon makes sure it needs to be like 40% below, like it's a deal. Yep. And maybe on Fridays or Wednesdays and Fridays, we share that deal. So Amazon in that case is our prolific content creator. Mm-hmm. And then we'll pick different topics and seed the group maybe for like 6 weeks that way. Then turn on our likes to page campaign, and then get into the retargeting the people that like our page. Bro,
I love it. I think this is the best topic that I could have chosen. Like, yes, and he speaks. Okay, amazing. So that makes sense. That totally makes sense. What I understand most of the time, it's happening like people are trying to like have an ad out, and no one is answering to your ad. Like, no one is like, as you were saying, building trust. How else can you build trust? And also, I love that you mentioned the sharing their stuff. I also seen on my end, whenever I want to approach someone, first I share at least 10, 20 of their stuff, and it's already like a thread there. And it's like, you're not a stranger, So it's, definitely makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. That's how it works. And you will notice a difference. Have you ever tried it doing it the other way? Look, I'm putting on the host hat for a second. I'm asking
Please
you
do.
questions. Like,
Yes.
have you ever done it the other way? Have you ever reached out, like maybe in the more rookie influencer days of yours? Did you ever just like reach out and say, oh my God, I love your stuff. I love it all the time, but you've never subscribed to anything really. You've never shared it out and you got no results versus what you do now. Like, what was the difference?
Yeah, I think that for me, especially because I'm also an influencer, from that side as well, I can see and tell things. And when people are approaching me, yeah, there you go.
I'm bowing down. Anybody watching this on the video?
He's saying that, but by the way, he's like, in his IG profile, it says Amazon influencer. So please.
It does?
It does. It still does.
I'll edit that.
Edit it. Okay. No, but really, like, as you were saying, definitely, I seen it also from that side. You can feel when people are just going to, oh, I love your content, would you, whatever. I don't know you. Like, you're not following me, you're not liking my posts. There's no connection there. So definitely also when I am approaching like new people that I would like to share my stuff, it's like at least 20 likes, at least comments, at least there's something there, there's something, the connection. If the connection is not there, like as you were saying, like think from your side, how would you feel when someone, like for example, today someone just like wrote me on Facebook, hi, how are you doing? I would never answer that type of messages. I know it might sound mean, but it's like, what do you want from me? And everyone is thinking that, what do you want from me? Why did you contact me, And yeah, definitely, I love what you were saying, the how to approach people and building the trust. And yeah, I definitely agree with that. So what else? Are there any questions that I should have asked and I haven't? Because I feel this was so in detail and so like...
Yeah, maybe not something you maybe should have asked, but something that I think a lot of people overlook is that one part I said about, having someone just sitting on your list
mm-hmm.
and you're not doing anything with that person on the list,
mm-hmm.
then that's a monumental waste of time. Like that negates everything that we just talked about. Like you could do everything we just talked about, right? If you don't do that, you're just dead in the water. You have an expensive Excel sheet is what you have at the end of the day
mm-hmm.
at that point. But content creation takes work. Curating content takes work. It's a different type of work, but curating content takes work.
Yep.
So make sure that you have that set up via automations on the email side before you turn your engine on, your trivia, quizzes, polls, and contests. Like make sure you have that done. If you don't, you are really, really wasting your time. The other thing that it's more of an advanced thing is that when I say do something with the people on your list, it's not spamming them. It's high value stuff, but you're either moving them up in priority or value in your list, or you're moving them down. But treading water or just no man's land doing nothing is really bad for everyone, for what you're paying for your list, for your business, for that person, everything. So make sure that is done in advance.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, if I might, the last question here, because that brought up the next question, what do you make or what type of content would you share that it still keeps people there? Because I know myself, I hate emails. And I know that anything that I receive, I want to be for sure subscribed for it. So what type of content would you share to not make people say, okay, it's Carlos again, or it's Carlos's brand again, and it's contacting me?
There's no, the answer I like to give there, and I'll try to go in depth and not like drone on forever, but it's, if you knew that every Wednesday, if you knew every day that you would receive an email at 5 a.m. and you don't get up early, right?
No, I will.
But you will. Okay. But like at 5 a.m., if you opened it by 5:02, it would automatically deposit $50 in your account, just $50. Like you probably would open that. You'd probably be up. You'd set an alarm. You'd build your day around it. What about 40? What about 30? What about 20? So I feel like a good exercise is once you know, I don't want to sound cheesy, like know your avatar and all that stuff. It's important, but once you know who you're speaking to, you should be able to know what that dollar amount is that you can go down to. Because if $5 for 5 a.m., you probably would not do it, right? Like you need to find out where that number falls. And that's really the exercise I go through. And then let that be the filter. Like you're not going to email them at 5 a.m., but like, let that be sort of the test that determines, is what you're sending that immediately apparent? Like you don't need to like drone on and explain why it could be if they do blank, but reading this is going to enrich them in a very clear way to the amount of that denomination. When that happens, it's not, oh, I don't like email. It's just like you're not motivated enough to read that person's email. And most email sucks. So I think you have to like run that test. The other one is, there is no one way for you to create content to make everybody on your list like you. That's segmenting. That is a deep, deep topic. And if you're not segmenting people from the beginning, like, you know, that quiz about, are they an instant coffee person or are they a French press? Say you have an amazing piece of content that you want to send out. That's like the 10 best ways to make a French press. If this person's instant coffee on your list, there is no way you could have done that piece of content correctly, curated or created. So segmenting as they're coming in is an art. You know, so that's what I would say. Like those are really the two mental exercises that I go through when we determine what sort of content. Like we have the satellite topics. We know for whatever reason, this is the pool of creators that we're going to be curating or creating, modeling to create or curating from. And what is the value that we need to deliver that we know our audience demands of us, like what we've promised that we would deliver every time. And if we don't do that, then we've broke a promise, and we should expect what happens when you break a promise to somebody.
I love it. I definitely think that anyone listening to this episode is like going to like up their game like 100%, at least, hopefully, if not 200. To be super respectful of your time. I love this. I learned this from you, by the way, from your podcast, to be respectful of your time. Before we're wrapping up, 3 questions that I love to ask my guests, since you're not my guest, but my co-host. I will still ask them, but I will ask them in the, okay, what's the $50 investment that you would make in order to build your list, to grow your list?
$50 investment. I'm going to be biased. I would say the Video Vault. I would buy our Amazon Video Vault, some meetupeventrecordings.com, like our events. It's not even $50, but like I would get one and gift one. Like I don't think there's any greater value for $50 out there.
Finally, you're promoting our own stuff. Yes, yes, I love it.
On your show.
On my show, obviously. All right, the books that you're mentioning 2 books of Ryan Levitt. Can you repeat once again? Which one?
It was Ask and Choose, or the title. It's just Ask and Just Choose by Ryan Levesque. He's obnoxious. He's amazing, but he's obnoxious. Like I'm letting you know, like when you read one of his books, like you're probably going to want to put it down 20. I still do. Like when I revisit them, it's pretty obnoxious. I feel like he's past my line of what I consider acceptable. I want to be sold to in a book, which is a very fine line. He exceeds that. The thing is, what he is going to talk about in there about segmenting your lists, any category, you're going to be able to deploy that in any business you have moving forward. And you're just going to be 8 feet tall and bulletproof. Like real deal. Like you want to read those books or listen to them, whichever's less obnoxious to you.
I was listening, I think the choose method first, and it's like for 30-40 minutes, and it was like so I have to listen to the whole thing. Okay, understood. Is there a third book as one, like plus the Ryan Levitt stuff?
No, I don't think he has a third book. Are you just asking like a third book?
No, for you, a third book, like period, because I have the trade
for email marketing. I guess to kind of tie that book into this, I feel like there's no good books on email marketing, and it's because it changes so much. Like there's some books out there that say emojis will kill your email list. Like there's other books that'll tell you and show you how it'll grow your email list. So the only one I know that stays neutral enough and can really get the creative juices flowing for you and make you feel like confident and powerful as you approach email marketing, would be I don't know the author, but it's the Rebel's Guide to Email Marketing. And it's only because he will sit there and say, should you have all capital letters in your subject line? Mm-hmm. And then he will give you a study on why you shouldn't. And then he'll show you another one, what the Rebel does and how they actually increase open rates and sales using caps locks and why they were able to pull that off. So it's a Rebel's Guide. This is the rules and this is how to break them.
Love it. Love it. I love those type of books. Third off, you also offer services. The Bird Blue. Oh my God.
Bluebird Marketing Solutions.
Yes, the Bluebird Marketing Solutions. Tell me some more about it. Pitch yourself.
Bluebirdmarketingsolutions.com offer, in the Amazon space, I offer Amazon PPC management, full account management, and consulting, even though the consulting, I was hoping that I would stop consulting by the end of March, but life gets complicated and you don't want to leave clients hanging. Looks like I'm going to continue taking on a few. I can take on 2 more, depending on when this airs, but like I can take on 2 more consulting clients. I plan on no longer offering consulting in that way and instead continuing just to offer everything I have to offer in the meetup groups. Mm-hmm. And I'll probably stop taking consulting clients by August 1st. So there's still some time listening to this. And if we're a fit, I'd love to. The only other service I offer that's not directly Amazon related is Amazon SEO. Mm-hmm. And as you get to know me, you understand why SEO and search engine marketing and all this other stuff is important to me in my Amazon business. Those are the services I offer. Work with clients of all sizes, from the Cloroxes of the world to I want to quit my midnight shift job at the airport and make X amount of money by next year. I love it. I just have been doing it for about 9 years on the services side. And as you mentioned earlier, or you kind of like alluded to earlier, I don't do a good job of selling it. I've been blessed with great word of mouth. And maybe that's been my excuse to not be pushy salesman of my stuff.
Are we pushing? We are pushing for it. It's fine. No worries.
It's also, you're pushing, so it's okay. I'll send you an invoice.
Yeah, good. 50K. All right. Well, you're amazing. Thank you so much. And once again, I think this is super, super important. As you were saying, I love when you're just geeking out about this topic because most people are not using these texts, but when these are the most important things. I think most of the time, where it's not the herd, there's where you should be, and it's like, this is definitely something that I personally super much enjoy. So thank you so much for your time. And
absolutely. And I hope anybody listening to this, that anything they want to hear me interview you about or like extract from you, that they reach out to me.
Yes.
And let me know so that I can put Noemi on the hot seat.
Please do so. Yeah, thank you so much for everyone listening. You're amazing, guys. And yeah, we will really appreciate you listening. If you haven't already joined our amazing Telegram chat, it's amazongroupchat.com, and you're more than welcome. So thank you, everyone listening. Have an awesome week and see you next time. Bye-bye.
It was fun sharing this episode with you. If you found value in what you've heard, please show your love with a subscribe, rate, and review of the show. Until next time.